Hi everyone, I'm Ashley with Halstead. Welcome to our last session of the Jewelry Business Forum this year. Yay! Congratulations on making it this far. I'm with Kelly, who is our Marketing and Creative Manager with Halstead. She's going to be talking about creating your marketing strategy. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I will be moderating it, and I will pop in at the end to answer them, or ask them, I should say. And so I'm going to go ahead and turn off my audio and video, and let's let it go.
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, everybody who was here live with me. It's our final session. Thank you so much for a wonderful week. So we are going to be talking about creating your marketing strategy. We've had different sessions all week about kind of different specific parts of marketing, but this is going to be kind of creating an overall plan for your business. All right, so we are going to get started. Okay, so first of all, who am I and why am I talking to you about a marketing strategy? So I am Kelly with an I, and I'm the Marketing and Creative Manager at Halstead, and I've been with Halstead since the beginning of 2017. So prior to working for Halstead, I was actually a customer, and that's how I connected with Hillary. Me and my husband owned a small jewelry business called Moon Age, and we also had a storefront location, a little gallery, and we carried over 50 local makers. We had painters, people who worked with textiles, ceramics, lots of household items. It was a great experience, and we loved it. We ended up having to close the business in April of 2018. And prior to that, I had already kind of come on with Halstead. So before owning our own business, I was in the retail industry for over 10 years, and most of that time was spent in management. And that's really where I got my skills on how to run a business, learning how to manage payroll, inventory, monitoring sales, kind of the HR side of things too. So that's where a lot of my work experience comes from. I also have an art degree from Arizona State University. I didn't do a concentration in metals, but I did take a small jewelry class and a small metals class while I attended the school. But my very first introduction to jewelry making was actually at my high school. I was very lucky to go to a public high school that had a jewelry making program. And I believe they still actually have the program running, which I know is very rare nowadays. So I have been into jewelry making since I was about 17 years old, but didn't make it a business decision or a career decision until my mid-20s. So again, I'm Kelly with an I. If you need anything, email me at kelly@halstead.com. All right, so we are going to talk about things to consider when creating your marketing strategy. So first, we need to know, what is a marketing strategy? And you can kind of see from this diagram, it's putting all of these feelers out in different places on social media, through email, on your website, and kind of reaching out and getting prospective consumers to ultimately become your customers, your clients. And I want to mention, as I go through my slides, all of the jewelry featured in these slides, I've given credit to all the artists. They all were Halstead Grant, either winners or finalists. I also have a few photos of our local studio school, KP Studio, some of the instructors there. So enjoy the beautiful jewelry. So I wanted to make this session, I wanted you guys to remember it and be able to take away. So I made it the 5 things you need to consider, and I put it in the who, what, where, when, and why format. This is mostly just so I can make it easy for you to remember. I don't have any worksheets for this session, but I would like you to have a clean piece of paper, and I'm going to have you write down a few ideas later on in the presentation. So we're going to get started with who. And when we're talking who, we're talking about who is your target customer. So when you break it down, we first want to start with the very basics. How old are they? What is their occupation? What is their income? Do they live in a big city or a rural area? Are they a mother, a father? Do they have grandkids? Are they single? Thinking about, just the basic info of the person that you want to target when marketing. So I want to show this on this slide. There's a great example of why you have to dig deeper than just that. So let's pretend all of these women featured in this slide, They are all 28 years old. They all live in Phoenix, Arizona. They are all in retail management. They all make approximately 80 grand a year, and they're all single mothers. So that sounds like a really specific customer, but as you can tell from these photos, these women probably have very different tastes in fashion and jewelry. So from the girl who rides a motorcycle every day, she's probably into some big bold pieces. The woman that's wearing the pink dress, she might be into more feminine, maybe sparkly jewelry. And the two girls out hiking, they might want like no fuss, easy jewelry to wear every day. So when you're thinking about your target customer, you need all that basic information, but you really need to dive deeper. Figure out what are their interests, hobbies, and what are their personality. So, and we have to go even deeper to be able to find our customers online and in person. So what influences their purchases? When do they wear jewelry? Are they buying jewelry for themselves to wear daily to work? Are they buying jewelry to go out on a Friday night? Are they buying jewelry to commemorate, maybe the birth of their children, grandchildren? So really think about why they're wearing jewelry, if they're buying it for themselves, when they buy, and where they shop. And my favorite thing to do is to create a customer avatar and even give them a name. So if you have a staff, or if in the future you're going to hire some employees, it's really fun to kind of give them this customer avatar. Let's say our target customer, we named her Amber. It's a really cool way to introduce your target customer to new employees, or even to just to yourself when making a new collection, refer back, would Amber be into this? I worked for Free People for a long time, and they have 5 different personas that they market to. They all have names and they all have backstories. So I want you to just start with one, and as your business grows, you may develop other customer avatars that you're going to market to. So we know who we're marketing to now. So what are we offering them? So obviously everybody here is in the jewelry business, so you are offering a jewelry collection. So on top of that, what else are you offering? In the small business sector now, people want more than just a beautiful piece of jewelry. They want a story. So I'm going to go over some things you can offer your customers to add value to your brand. We're going to go through community, lifestyle, education, and purpose. These are just some things that you can convey through your marketing that add value to your brand and get customers interested to purchase. So with your jewelry collection, I just want to say what you include and what you do not include in your collection is just as important as what you include. We all have pieces that we maybe made a few years ago that never sold, but maybe they aren't super cohesive with the new collections we're putting out. And I definitely think if you're going, selling in person, when shows and craft stores are back, those are great pieces to have on your table, have options for people to purchase. But when you're thinking about your marketing strategy and what photographs you're going to be posting on social media or sending out in your email campaigns, you want to make sure you have a cohesive collection you are displaying to your customer. I love this collection by Yote. You can tell the same person made all of these pieces, and it's definitely part of one of her collections. So being recognizable, and then also thinking about your price range. Do you have some pieces that are maybe at a lower price range to kind of get those entry level customers in? And then, if you are in the fine or bridal sector, you probably have very expensive pieces. And I think sometimes people with their entry level price point jewelry, sometimes those pieces aren't as cohesive with their full collection, but I think just making sure that your design elements kind of ring through, even if your lower price point maybe is in silver and then your higher price point is in gold, but somehow it is recognizable that it is all made by you. And then selection. So I know a lot of people that are attending this conference this week are really just at the very beginning stages of starting a jewelry business. And I think before you start, creating a website, and putting time into it, I'd say you'd want to have, a minimum of at least 10 pieces to offer before putting in the time. So putting the time to create a collection that has at least 10 pieces before you kind of start working on your marketing strategy. So obviously we're all offering, a beautiful jewelry collection, but like I said, consumers now want more, especially from small jewelry businesses. They want a story to tell. They want to know more about the brand, more about you, more behind the scenes. So one way you can add value to your brand is by kind of giving your customers or your followers kind of a lifestyle. So you can do this through social media, obviously, photo shoots, Pinterest boards, and blogging. A lot of times people think that they have to, keep everything about the jewelry. But if your target customer is, an outdoorsy girl who loves to hike, as in Stephanie Howell's collection, all of her pieces incorporate nature. So if you find that your target customer is, an outdoor lover, maybe posting blogs about, places to go hiking, places all over the US that would be interesting to visit, or maybe you're posting about different types of flowers, something that kind of adds value to your brand that's beyond the jewelry, and building this like lifestyle, kind of telling a story with your jewelry about the person who would be wearing it. So 2020 was a rough year, and a lot of the places where we felt community before, we aren't feeling it as much because we don't get that in-person connection. So there's a lot of ways to build community online. Again, through social media, Facebook groups are an amazing place to connect with people. With Halstead, we started our Facebook group right when the pandemic hit in March, and at first I was like, are people going to want to connect here? Are they going to want to talk to us? And it has been so inspirational. It has grown, and just really great conversations and things happening. So you can create a Facebook group for your jewelry community, for the people who are interested in your brand, whether it's, like I said, something about hiking or the outdoors, or if you're really into the beach vibe, just different things that kind of make your brand different and build communities around that. So also Instagram Live and Facebook Live videos, just talking to your community about the relevant topics can really, really help people connect with your brand. Reposting customer content is a great way to show your customers that you see them, they look great in your jewelry. Reposting them is just a great way to say thanks, and also just kind of build that connection, reinforce that connection with them. Education. So we all know what it takes to make a ring, all the time, all the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into creating each piece of jewelry. But the general public they have no idea. They just see a ring, they think it's great, they either like it or they don't like it. But giving them the full background story of how you created a ring, and even if you don't want to write a full blog or a full email, describing your whole process, just posting a photo like this, showing, Emma showing that she is the one handcrafting every piece of jewelry, that adds so much value to your work. Beyond just showing that everything is handmade, you can also, give people other value by describing the meanings of stones. I know a lot of people in the industry love gemstones and the different meanings and the different healing powers behind them. So giving your customer your knowledge can add value, and another thing that you're offering them on top of the jewelry. Purpose has become a huge thing that small jewelry businesses and just small businesses in general have really gotten behind. If you are super passionate about ethically sourcing all of your gemstones using recycled metals, make sure that your customer knows that. If you also, there's a charity that you hold dear to you, the Boys and Girls Club, or maybe something about domestic violence or suicide, if something has happened in your life and you are giving a percentage of your proceeds to an organization like that, that can be the final tipping point that makes someone think, oh, I really loved this jewelry and thought it was beautiful, but now that I know 5% of all your sales go to this charity, now I'm in, I'm buying. So that can be the final thing that tips them to make that purchase and the final connection with you. Okay, so we talked about who is your target customer, what are you offering them, What are you offering beyond the jewelry collection? So now, where can they find you? And I love this photo of the old map. I love maps, not Google Maps, but old printed maps. So I just love this photo. Obviously, no one's looking for you there. Okay, so I'm gonna have Ashley put out a poll, and I kind of want to see, if you already are marketing your business, what social media platform do you use the most? And there are so many options, and I know a lot of us, especially starting out, you're a one-person show. It's just you. So there's no way you can be on all of these platforms. Hey, Ashley.
Hey, your poll is not showing.
Oh, let me make it show.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you guys see my poll now? Do you see it? Oh, good. Yep, people are. Thanks for popping in.
Yep.
Okay. So a lot of you are saying, most people are saying Instagram. Instagram and Facebook seem to be the top places. So, if it's just you, I would pick to have probably 2 social media platforms that are really strong, that you can dedicate time to, that you can, respond to your customers' comments and really engage in, than trying to be all over the place. Facebook and Instagram, I think, are the 2 biggest platforms right now, and that's what I would suggest to any new business owner. But also think about your target customer. If, I've seen brands that maybe make jewelry out of guitar strings. If you are super into music, super, your target customer, loves that type of thing, maybe YouTube might be the place you want to be promoting. If you are a musician wearing your jewelry and you want to post videos like that or something, that could be an option. So really think about your brand and where they would be. If you're new and you don't know where to start, I would say Instagram and Facebook are the right place. And also, I just noticed that there was a typo in my poll. And here, I'm going to publish the results for you guys. Okay, so on top of your social media marketing, where are you actually going to be selling your jewelry online? So you can directly sell from social media now. And if you missed it earlier in the week, Liz Kantner had a session on how to sell directly on Instagram. So if you know your target customer is on Instagram, that might be something you look into. A lot of people sell on Etsy and Amazon Handmade too. And then now it's really easy to build your own website. I think the consensus this week so far is everybody really loves Shopify, but there are a lot of different platforms out there. There's Squarespace, Wix. So check it out and see what makes sense for you. But obviously you need a place to sell online. A lot of people prior to this last year maybe did only sell at shows or craft fairs, but obviously now you have to make the switch and having an online sales source. So selling directly through Instagram with the clickable links is new. So I just wanted to show, this is NG Studio, and kind of how you can click directly and purchase. Liz Kantner also gives you some tips of how to kind of keep it in the DMs and get people to purchase that way too. Okay, so obviously the last year, getting these in-person events has been hard, but for a jewelry maker, getting in-person feedback about your jewelry is so important. People put on your earrings and tell you, they're too heavy, or I love this flow, or how they fit and don't hit my neckline. You need that kind of feedback to keep innovating and growing your collection. So if your craft fairs and local markets are canceled, you can always, go live on Instagram or Facebook and kind of show people product that way, and hopefully have them kind of communicate with you. You can set up Zoom meetings, maybe with potential clients or customers that want to see kind of your jewelry in person and kind of getting their live feedback on it. Another option, if you want to go this route, is wholesale or consignment. If you have your jewelry on sale at a local store near you on consignment, maybe you're not getting the direct feedback from the customer, but the store owner is going to let you know, people love this style, they don't love this style, this is doing well. So having some type of in-person sales platform or outlet is a really important option for jewelry makers. Oh, and we've been seeing more and more of brick and mortar storefronts. A lot of people have been having studio spaces. And if you're paying the rent for studio, a lot of people have been making a little retail space in the front of their studio. And maybe they're just open, on Fridays and Saturdays from 12 to 5, but also just getting people to come in and see your jewelry in person has been really cool. We also had a panel this week on opening storefronts, so check that out. Okay, so these are my tips for where. You need a multi-platform selling and marketing strategy. So like I said, obviously with social media, you can't be everywhere, but I'd say at least pick two platforms to be on. And then with selling, you don't want to just be on Etsy and just sitting there hoping people will find you and make a purchase. If you have your own website, you make your Shopify website, plus you have your jewelry at a local boutique on consignment, and then you also have an Etsy, then you have 3 different places people can find you. Putting more feelers out there is always gonna, ways for people to find you is always gonna help, get those sales back. So remember to focus on your target customer. There's not a right answer. So it depends on the type of jewelry you're selling and who your target customer is. It also depends on, how long you've been in business. If you have, made it so far and you have a team of 3 now, you might have more bandwidth to figure out where to sell, and you might be able to be on more social media platforms. So figure out, what you can handle and what you can manage. You don't want to have a social media platform that you don't post on for over a month. You want to be able to be consistent and be thoughtful and be engaging with your audience. So think about that too when planning out your where and your marketing strategy. I'm not going to dive deep into mailing lists. Some people have talked about it this week, but mailing lists are gold. These people said, hey, here's my email. Please email me. So do it. Make sure that you're sending out emails, depending on your life and what you can handle. But I would say, at least 1 email weekly if you can. Just kind of popping in, maybe letting them know that you posted some new stuff on your social pages, maybe that you have a new line dropping in the next couple weeks. Whatever you can think of, your email list, you want to be reaching out to them. Tracy Matthews did a great email marketing session this week. So if you're having trouble there, check that out. All right. So who is your target customer? What are you offering them? And that's beyond your jewelry collection. Where can they find you? And now we're going to talk about when are you going to find the time to implement this marketing strategy. So this is where I want you to just take out a blank piece of paper and break it up into 12 squares. And these 12 squares are going to represent the months of the year. So we're in January, so obviously it can be a calendar year if you're going to start working on your marketing strategy right now. If you don't get to this till March, then your first square will be April, ending in March. So we're going to kind of try to break this down so you don't feel overwhelmed. So the first I want to go what to include, what is a marketing task, and what to include on this 12-month timeline. So marketing tasks can be product photography shoots, lifestyle shoots, email campaigns, social media posts, if you have a blog, when you're going to write your next blog, website updates. So these are all different things. Also, craft fairs and any shows you're going to be attending are a great thing to put on there. So this is just going to be your general guide to follow for the next year. You can set these tasks per month or per quarter. So if you're going to, your goal for this next year is to have 2 lifestyle shoots, kind of plot them in the couple of months or the quarter you want to have those happen. Email campaigns, I'd say, each month put in, you want to send at least 4 emails, weekly emails that month. So again, just kind of plot it out on this on these 12 squares, just to give you an idea of what the next year is going to look like. These don't have to be super detailed, just kind of what you see, what are your plans for the next year. And these are going to be tasks. We're going to go on our next slide and talk about goals. So I'm going to give you a minute, kind of break down the 12 squares into the next 12 months and plot in any shows you have, putting Mother's Day on there. If you sell jewelry that does well during Mother's Day, you might want to mark that on there. If you have a summer show, mark that on there. Obviously, everybody kind of gears up for holidays, so you're going to want to mark that on this. So after you get your kind of basic tasks you want to complete for the next 12 months, we're going to add in goals. And so these are benchmarks to reach. You know, if we're starting now in January, maybe put something in March of you want to have at least 100 more Instagram followers, or you want to increase your subscriber email list by 50 contacts. Put in some goals, and these will kind of keep you on track when looking at your marketing strategy and seeing if what you're implementing is working and getting you to hit these goals. Okay, so this isn't something that you need to do right now, but hopefully you at least have, you know, an idea of what you're looking at getting done for the next 12 months. So now you have monthly and quarterly kind of tasks you want to do. I want you to break these down into weeks. And this is going to look different for everybody. I live by my Outlook calendar in my email, and then I also have a wall calendar right here. It's one of those big ones that you can handwrite on. My Outlook is only professional tasks that I need to get done. My wall calendar has personal life and professional on it. A lot of people still like to write in journals or planners. I know a lot of creative people prefer to write, maybe even make little drawings of what they need to get done. So whatever makes sense for you, do it. So schedule yourself time per week. You know, when you're looking at the couple months ahead, like what are you going to get done each week? And how many hours a week are you going to be able to put towards marketing? Again, be realistic. You want to push yourself and make sure you get your marketing strategy going, but you don't want to give yourself too much that you can't handle. So think about what really is in your bandwidth and what you can do. Again, I love checklists. So on my wall calendar, when I get through all of my tasks of the day, I'm marking each task off, and at the end of the day, I put a big X through it, and it makes me happy. So whatever works for you, make a plan and stay on track. Okay, so we are to the why. So this can be super blunt, but why does anybody want to buy from you? So why is your brand different? What sets you apart from your competitors? And a lot of times when I talk to small jewelry business owners, if I ask them these questions, they can rattle off a bunch of different reasons of why they're different and why people should buy from them and not their competitors. You know, I've heard, you know, I only work with women vendors. All of my stone cutters are women. You know, the girl who does it's a woman who does my photography. And I'll be like, that is awesome. I was just on your website and on your Instagram, and I had no idea. So your marketing strategy, you need to tell your you know, prospective customers why. So make sure that you are conveying these things on your website, in your Instagram posts, through your emails, kind of telling the story of why you are different. And so if you don't have a specific reason of, you know, why your sterling silver opals are better than, you know, the next small business, in general, you have, you know, take advantage of being a small business. There are so many advantages of shopping small. So just conveying that you are a small business, you are, you know, just one person running this show, you are hand making everything. Kind of conveying that if you purchase from me, you know, you are supporting my dreams or you're supporting my family. Handwritten cards, popping on Instagram live or Facebook live and just telling people thank you, being genuine, and letting people know your story. I think just being genuine and vulnerable and letting people know about you is a great way to connect with customers, and it really does give them the why they should purchase from you. You know, if you go into Tiffany's or any giant, which Tiffany's is now owned by a larger company, but you're not going to be able to go in there and meet the owner. So being able to connect directly with the person who is making your jewelry, who owns the business, that is going to set you apart. Okay, so we went through the 5 W's, and now in school, the 5 W's always end with how. So how are you going to do this? You're not going to be able to leave this session right now and create your whole marketing strategy. This is going to take some time. You're going to need to do your research and gather data while you go through the 5 W's. If you are an existing business and you already have a selling platform, go in and look at your analytics, whether it's through your Instagram business page or Google Analytics, depending on what you're working with. You can kind of already see who your customer is. So you already kind of have a gauge of, maybe how old they are, or, if it's women or men. If you're brand new, you're not going to have these kind of tools. So you're going to want to look at kind of your competitors and see, what their target customer is, what they're doing. So this is going to take some research. It will take you, a couple weeks to kind of figure out and get all the way down to who your target customer is, and that kind of really helps you answer the rest of the W's of, where are you going to be for them to find you, and what are you offering, and so on. So the biggest challenge I find for creatives is, and in the jewelry business in general, you're owning a small jewelry business because you love making jewelry, and you're probably a really creative person and you love the end product. You don't love the business side of things. So make a plan and stick to it. You have to have a marketing strategy to grow your audience, to reach those prospective customers. So really make that 12-month, always be looking out 12 months and break it down into your monthly tasks and stick to your plan. Again, you're always going to have to be looking at your strategy and seeing if it's working. If you're not hitting those goals that you put on that 12-month calendar, then what you're doing, you need to tweak it. Maybe, you're not posting often. Maybe you're not, putting those calls to action in your comment section when posting on Instagram or Facebook. Whatever it is, you're always going to need to look at what you're doing and tweak your strategy. And then continue to establish goals and build out your timeline. You may not always be looking 12 months out, but you need to be looking at least 6 months out, knowing what's coming up. You don't want to miss an opportunity because you weren't prepared. So always look ahead and stick to your plan. Okay, so this is a recap. You will have the link to the replay, but if there's something else that you just want to write down for notes, it would be these 5 W's. So who is your target customer? Dig deeper. You don't want to just know their age, occupation, and location. You need to really dive in. What are their hobbies? Where are they online? What makes them purchase? And where are they wearing jewelry? Really think about those things. So what are you offering your customers? Again, I know everybody is, proud of their jewelry collection, and that is great. But what are you offering beyond that? Are you giving purpose behind your brand by connecting your followers with resources? Are you donating a percentage of sales to a charity, or are you just, letting people know, building awareness about issues that are close to you? Are you building a lifestyle? Are you building a community that people can feel a part of? What else are you offering beyond the jewelry items? And then where can they find your brand? You really need to figure out what you can handle, how many social platforms you can handle, where you can be selling online, whether it's your own, Shopify or Squarespace store, or if you want to be selling directly through Instagram. Really think what's going to be easiest for you to manage and where your customers are wanting to find you. And then when. This is, I think, the biggest challenge for small businesses. When are you going to find the time to do this? And you have to find the time. Whether it's 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week, you need to be spending time on this. If you aren't building up awareness about your brand, you're not going to be able to grow and get more customers. So make the time, make a plan, and stick to it. And then why? Again, like I said, when I talk to small jewelry business owners in person, they can tell me a million reasons why, but make sure you're conveying that in your marketing strategy. Make sure when people are on your Instagram page, they know why. They know that a certain cause is important to you, or ethical sourcing is important. Make sure it's on your website, and make sure people can find it easily. Sometimes you only have 30 seconds on your website for someone to decide if they're going to stay or not. So make sure you are conveying these whys. So we have a great archive in our blog of marketing articles. A lot of people that spoke this week have wrote guest blogs for us. So obviously I'm just talking about an overview of a marketing strategy here. There are topics you can dive way deeper into. Email marketing, just posting on Instagram, engagement tips. There's also even things of how to get your jewelry in galleries and exhibitions and things like that. So always continue learning, always reach out. We are here to help. So check out halsteadb.com/articles to continue learning. So I am the last session of the day, so I want to take some questions for the next 10-15 minutes or so, and then I'm going to have a little closing presentation.
All right, so there was quite a discussion actually about the benefits of using LinkedIn as far as marketing goes, besides just having your jewelry business on LinkedIn, but actually using it actively to market to people.
So is your target customer on LinkedIn is your first thing that you want to know. I definitely think just as a professional, an entrepreneur, a business owner, you should personally be on LinkedIn, just so at least someone can search you and kind of find you and info about you. So if people in the professional world are your target customer, then yeah, you might be wanting to post and market on there. And I think posting on there every once in a while is a great idea, even if your target customer isn't there. But again, depends on your brand, depends on your customer. I wouldn't say put all your time and energy there if your customer's not there.
Okay. And then can you kind of talk about prioritizing marketing when jewelry making is still very part-time for you?
Yes. So if jewelry is part-time and just a hobby for you, and you don't ever want to scale and eventually make it your full-time thing, then I wouldn't be so concerned about marketing. If you love to just make jewelry and sell, at a holiday craft fair every year, I have friends that do that and love it. They don't have an interest of scaling to a larger business. If you have hopes and dreams of making it your full-time gig, you have to prioritize marketing. Again, know your bandwidth. If you're a single mom with 4 kids at home, and you're, trying to make jewelry and trying to market, you might only be able to dedicate an hour a week. But make sure you dedicate that time and make it happen. It's the best way to grow your business.
So kind of from there, about kind of how much time should be devoted to marketing?
Well, again, what you can do, I would say, if you could daily put an hour in, that's a great place to start. But again, it's, how much time you have. It also depends on what tools you implement. If you get on an automated system like MailChimp or somewhere that's going to be able to send emails for you, if you can do a plug-in to your Shopify account and make things automatically send through a nurture or workflow, that's going to be less time. So again, it just depends on where you are, in your business cycle and how much you can handle.
Okay. And what are some goals besides just dollar amounts that people can use?
Yeah. Looking at your analytics is huge. So if you do have a Shopify website or any of those, I think you can see the back end. Are people adding things to your cart? That's a great way. Are they signing up for your mailing list? A lot of times in marketing, people have to see your brand multiple times before they ever actually connect and make a purchase. So just growing your engagement on Instagram, like it doesn't have to be sales. You might see all these other metrics start to grow, and you're like, okay, I'm getting more engagement, I'm getting more people to my website, but I'm not seeing it in sales. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer to kind of see these other metrics grow before they complete into sales, because it does take people longer to kind of recognize your brand, remember your brand, and make that first purchase. So very first starting out, I mean, obviously sales are important. You want to make money. But when looking at a marketing strategy, that's the end goal, but there are these other little goals that you should have along the way.
Okay. What kind of comes first? Developing a larger cohesive collection, making your business plan up to date, or working on your marketing strategy? What's kind of the order of priority there?
Okay. Kind of depends. So building a business plan, if you're going to start investing money into your business, I would say building a business plan is probably going to be first. If you already, make jewelry and have a collection, I'd say building that business plan is first. And within the business plan, especially if you download our jewelry business plan toolkit, marketing is part of it. But you want to have a cohesive collection before you start throwing things out there. I mean, if you already make stuff, I mean, you might as well post what you're making, even if it isn't super cohesive, if you already have the Instagram handle and all of these things. But as you grow, you just want to make sure that your message is kind of, the same. Your jewelry has those key elements, and people can recognize it. If you're kind of making all over the place, which happens, when I first started making jewelry, nothing looked cohesive. It was everywhere. So I get that. But before you start throwing money at it and kind of making it this bigger thing, I'd say business plan.
Okay. And then this is kind of something we've talked about with the various email discussions this week, but what's kind of too much contact with your customers?
Well, okay, so like Corky in the last session, and J. Crew does this, Urban Outfitters does this, and that's why I unsubscribed from them. They send you multiple emails in a day. That's kind of crazy to me. If people signed up for your list, they probably like you and want to hear from you. So 3 to 5 emails a week, I think is great. Even if one daily, I think is fine. I think when you start to do more than one a day, it might get weird. And also, I think don't be scared. I mean, if you're emailing people 5 times a day, like you're gonna get unsubscribes. But if you are emailing like a normal amount 3 to 5 times a week and you get unsubscribes, don't let that hinder you. It probably has nothing to do with the content you're emailing. It's probably just they feel overwhelmed in their email or something like that. So keep at it. Don't let that frustrate you.
Do you have any suggestions for marketing Amazon handmade listings?
I don't. So Amazon Handmade, I was on there a long time ago, and I know it has changed a lot since I've been on there. I don't have tips for marketing on Amazon Handmade. I'm sorry. Maybe bring that question to the Jeweler Spark, and other people who are currently on there might have some good tips for you.
Awesome. Let's see here. How much info about yourself should you make easily accessible, especially if you're doing all of this jewelry making from home?
Okay, yeah. So that's going to depend on kind of, first of all, like what you personally feel okay with. Obviously, if everything is from at home, your studio is at home, maybe you let select clients meet you at home, which I still maybe meet at a coffee shop or somewhere. I wouldn't put your home address like on your website. And then just, a lot of people, their brand, their brand is their name is their brand. So they feel super open. So it kind of just depends on how open you feel with it. And if you don't love to be the face, of your brand, you don't want to be in front of the camera, you don't want to be, posted everywhere, you can kind of get like some brand ambassadors or maybe people who really like your brand that you post more about, or maybe, you could do collabs or exchanges to get photos and different things like that. So depends on your comfort level, but obviously personal things like maybe your cell number or your home address, I would not.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Let's see here. Scrolling through the comments, seeing what else we have here. There looks like there's a couple about kind of worrying about your growth just going out of hand before you're ready for it. Unable to keep up with inventory, that sort of thing.
Okay, that is a really good question. and that is part of the reason that we don't have our business anymore, is we had a lot of great connections and got started in wholesale, and we couldn't keep up. And it kind of became this thing that kind of had to fizzle out. We worked too hard to make it happen, so it got us burnt out. So when you're scaling up, be prepared. Again, you need to be looking ahead. If you are, you have these amazing line sheets and you're sending them out to all these retail stores, and you get super lucky and they all are like, yes, we want to do this. And you promised a 4-week turnaround for 25 pieces. And like, yeah, that makes sense if you had 2 orders, but now you have 10 orders. You really need to think about that, because that can hurt you in the end. Reputation can be everything in this business, and you don't want to, make relationships not work out because you weren't ready to scale up that quickly. And always think about a plan. If I did get all of these orders in, do I have someone who can help me make, who can at least help me polish and finish these pieces and package them and ship them? Do I have someone I trust that can at least help me out in some way?
Stephanie's asking, what's a good way to sell and market a handmade findings business?
Ooh. I don't know if I have any specific tips for that. I mean, I think it's going to be the same. Your target customer is obviously probably going to be jewelry makers who are selling the finished pieces. So again, you're just going to have to do some market research. Where are you going to find them? I know that there are a lot of people who sell findings on Amazon and Etsy, but I can't speak specifically to that. But I think just doing your research and finding your target market, how you're going to reach out to them.
How do you deal with marketing like one-of-a-kind pieces?
So a trend that's been happening that I think is really awesome is people kind of make a lot. They make 10 one-of-a-kind pieces, and then they hold them and they don't go for sale until they go up on their website live at a certain time, and they're all there at one time. I think when you have, I used to use Shopify. It's not fun to just like have to upload one product every once in a while. I think holding off and doing a whole, product upload at once can be a smart way. And I know, again, with one-of-a-kind pieces, you want to take a photograph right away, but maybe sometimes holding it so you can take, photos of a few of them together at the same time. Just, I don't know. My dad always said smarter, not harder. So trying to make it easier on yourself. I know getting listings for one-of-a-kind, you have to switch it out every time and a new photo every time. So kind of just making it in groups can make it easier for you.
Definitely. That sounds good. Okay, so someone on here was asking if one newsletter a month is enough, and
that is better. It's better than nothing.
Yeah, it's definitely better than nothing.
One newsletter a month, if that's all you can handle right now, that's great. Be consistent. If you're like, yes, I can do one newsletter a month. Okay, let's make sure we're doing that, as long as we can. And then when we have, some more time, some more bandwidth, now let's get it every other week. So yes, one newsletter, I would suggest more, but if that's all you can do, that's okay too.
Okay. And then Nicola here is wondering some tips or best practices for rolling out new collections.
Oh, so use your social media platforms, use your email lists. You can post about your collection launching 50 times prior to it happening. You're not going to want to post the same thing over and over, but hey, I have this new collection coming, and maybe just your first post 2 months out is the name of it and maybe an inspiration pic. As it gets closer, you start to post one piece in each collection. Stephanie Howell does a really, really good job on her Instagram pages. It's S Howell Studios, about getting you ready for a launch. So you're not being annoying. You're not posting the same content over and over. A lot of times people miss it or don't see it. So kind of finding a different way to say it multiple times leading up, I think is smart.
Okay. And then kind of related to that, how early should you prepare for seasonal items when it comes to marketing?
So definitely Valentine's Day is always kind of a weird one because it comes right after holiday. And it's weird to be posting like your Valentine's Day collection the week before Christmas. But I'd say you want to start getting people to think about buying at least a month before the holiday. And again, you have to hit them with the message multiple times before they're like, oh yeah, I need to buy, my wife or girlfriend or whatever, my significant other something for Valentine's Day. So I think starting at least a month, I'd say 2 months out if you can. Valentine's Day is just the odd one. Obviously for holiday, for Christmas season, Hanukkah season, whatever, you celebrate that time of year, starting to think about it, get your supplies ordered, get your, marketing strategy in place. It's kind of never too early. I'd say it's like September.
Okay. So that seems to be most of the questions coming in at this point.
Okay.